Hey everyone, it's Lizzie and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be walking through a friend's budget here. On the right hand side, I actually filled in the July bill tracker. So you can see here, she has the standard bills, just like we all do, housing, insurances. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna fill in the calendar, and that is step number one when you are starting the process of budgeting or just maintaining your budget. You want to get everything in a calendar. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in her due dates. Okay, there is one other bill right here. There's a Fidelity credit card that she just accrued and she doesn't know what the bill date is. So until she finds that information out, I'm just gonna leave this written in here, but with no amount because she doesn't know what the due amount is. So we got the June calendar filled in. She also has 2 paydays. She gets paid bi-weekly. So the first pay is going to be on the 4th, and then the last one for June is going to be on the 18th. Then we move on to the month of July. So I'm going to do the same thing, filling in the calendar, and we have 3 paydays scheduled for July. So I'll show you how I filled in the bill calendar or the bill tracker and everything, but let me just use this again and write in her bills. So we got both months filled in the calendar. And now I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I would fill in her paycheck budget for the 18th of June. So I have the bill tracker right over here as a reference, and let me flip to the paycheck budget. So here is how I use both of these side by side. It is very important that you make a plan for every single dollar. And creating a paycheck budget, you are essentially going to just break down your paycheck into specific categories for your bills, which are your expenses, anything that's leaving your bank account, and for any goals that you might have. So for her, those are the 2 categories that we're going to be focusing on, and that's based off of the percentage formula. Now, you're going to see 3 spaces here: expenses, goal, and tithe. That is how I would always recommend breaking out your budget. However, she did not mention that she tithes or attends a church, so the 10% here, we're just not going to focus on that. We're only going to be focusing on expenses and goal. The income that she does receive is $20.78 bi-weekly. So that is what we're going to be basing our paycheck off of. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring this down as the $20.78 is the income. And then when you get to this point of the percentage formula, I would highly recommend to live within a percentage. It doesn't have to be written in stone or anything. Obviously, if there's certain things that come up and you can't live within that percentage formula, then change it, okay? So this is what we have included in our finances. And this was a lesson that I learned from Jordan Page, and it absolutely changed the game in our finances, in our budget. So that's why I also recommend that as well. We are living proof that it is possible to live within percentages. So let me show you exactly how I would do that here. With anybody who is in debt, I would say have your expenses be 80% of what your income is, meaning you're gonna live within that dollar amount. So I'm gonna suggest if you can live within 70%, great, but let's be realistic here. So 80% of her income, I would recommend breaking it down within her expenses, things leaving her bank account, things that she's paying out. And then the remaining 20%, again, we're not going to be focusing on the tithe, will be going towards her goals. And in this case, it's any debt, savings, sinking funds. So she does not have any savings right now, and that's a goal of hers, is to gain certain sinking funds, get an emergency fund. So we're gonna focus on that, but she also wants to become debt free. And right now it looks as if she's about a little over $13,000 in debt. So let's figure out what these dollar amounts are. So let me get my calculator, and we're gonna take the 2078 and multiply it by 0.8, which is the 80%. And this gives us 1662, and 20%, we're gonna take the 2078 and multiply it by 0.2. 415 is 20% for that. Again, we are not gonna be focusing on this since it does not apply to her. So we're still gonna break down the budget of 2078. Now we are gonna look at the bill tracker. And with the bill tracker, let me explain this really quickly. I have a whole video explaining in depth the bill tracker. I make sure to link it up above for you to check it out so you can set up your own. But you're gonna mark out your paydays up at the top and list all of your expenses down below, and then highlight when you know you have to have that fully funded in your account. So this is a great planning tool. Being that we are budgeting on June 18th, we have already calculated how these bills are going to be broken down. So you take the total amount and you're going to divide it by the number of paydays leading up to the time where you have to have that bill fully funded. So let me know if you have any questions about that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down this column and write in what we've already planned out in the bill tracker. 425 is going to rent. Renter insurance is $22.50. UGI 45, and you're going to go down the entire column and then check it off once you've included it in your paycheck budget. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for the rest of the bills. I included 2 of these phone amounts just on the one line, just to save some space. And now we're gonna go ahead and add up this entire column here. Okay, $948.50. I always like to double check my addition just to make sure. So it looks good. Let me just close out of this. Now we're gonna take this remaining dollar amount, the $20.78, which was the income, and we're gonna subtract this expense, and that leaves us with $1129.50. And I'm gonna carry that up here, $1129.50. And she still has some other categories that we obviously have not included just yet, like groceries, gas, miscellaneous items. So I'm gonna go ahead and write in what she plans on spending for the month. So let me actually show you the monthly budget. She usually spends $350 for groceries on average. Since we're breaking her budget down by paycheck, what I'm gonna do is just divide that by 2 because there's 2 paychecks in June. So $175 is what her grocery amount will be allocated for this paycheck. So I'm gonna put groceries at $175 for the budget. Gas, she budgets out $100. So $50 is gonna be for gas. She had medicine that she budgets out for monthly, which is $120. So that would be $60 that she would write in for her paycheck. And then she has this miscellaneous. She told me $48, so we're gonna go with that. So $24 will be for miscellaneous. And now we're gonna add up this. So $309 is this category amount. We're gonna take the remaining and subtract the $309, and that leaves us with $820.50. So if we look at what we said was our percentage formula for expenses. We said 80% of her income is $1,662. So you're gonna take that $1,662 and you're gonna subtract the total expenses that she is responsible to pay out, $948.50. And then I'm also gonna subtract this variable spending because that's also leaving her bank account. So we're gonna subtract the $309. So $404 is still left over from what the goal for that percentage formula was. So she is living less than the 80%, which is fantastic. But there's a couple of things that I do want to point out. With the paycheck, I would highly suggest this miscellaneous to be a little bit more specific. Is this your allowance money? You say that you're a family of 3. There's 2 working adults and then you have a kid. What about allowance for each of you? Do you guys buy clothing for yourself, beauty products? If you just want to buy something because it is a want, you are allowed to include those things in your budget. So I would highly recommend you to relook at your spending habits, because those wants and those desires of you wanting to spend certain dollar amounts can cause you to use a credit card instead and grow your debt. But if you put this in your budget, it will allow you that piece that you did indeed budget out spending money. And that is okay to do, even if you are in debt. Now, don't go overboard. Obviously, you do want to reach the goal of becoming debt-free. However, there is nothing wrong with creating a budget category for your spending. We desire certain things. You want to get your nails done or be like me and buy press-on nails. So I haven't gone to the nail salon in years, but you get my point. If you want to get your hair done, if you want to get your nails done, it is okay for you to budget out that even though you are in debt, but don't go overboard. I highly recommend that you take a look at your finances and see what are you missing. Have a conversation with your partner and see what is something that you both would come into agreement with, and see, hey, let's include this in our finances, because this is serious stuff, but it's real life, guys. That's just a recommendation that I have just by looking over this. Just try to include that in your finances, because you do have wiggle room for that. So you're saying that you do not have a savings. You don't have sinking funds. This is so important to have. I highly recommend that if you do not have at least $1,000 set aside as like your beginning savings for emergency, do that. Have that be your first focus, because those small, like you need a new tire or you have to go to emergency and you have this big copay, they're usually around like $150 or so. Those are those things that can get you to swipe your credit card instead of using money that you already have in a dedicated savings account. So save up at least $1,000. Obviously, if you feel the need to save more, then do that, but use that $1,000 as just your starting point for your savings. So with this buffer that you have of $820, look into taking the majority of this and putting it into your emergency fund to get that started. And then also think about the sinking fund. Sinking funds is you're saving for a specific event or big purchase in your life, something that you know is going to happen. My light just went out. Hold on. Think of those large purchases, something that you know is going to happen, like you need to re-register your vehicle, renew your driver's license, you have a birthday or a celebration that is coming up that you have to save a specific dollar amount for. You have to get new tires, do the maintenance on your vehicle, things like that. That's what you want to look into when it comes to breaking down sinking funds. Now, write up what day you need to have that sinking fund fully funded. So let's say it is Christmas and we have roughly 6 months. Well, if you want to buy the presents, give yourself 5 months. And let's say you want to save $500 for buying presents for Christmas. Well, you're going to take $500 and you're going to divide it by 5. So you know that you have to save $100 each month. So that's kind of how you would write up your sinking funds. So you didn't give me sinking funds because you didn't have an idea really of what that is, but I want you to work with me, and I know that these are probably things that you would want to consider as a sinking fund. One of them could be, like I mentioned, maintenance on your car. So I would have maybe a car sinking fund. Another one can be for gifts. You can have one for like fun, like for a vacation. Have it be like if you're wanting to go away to an Airbnb for a weekend. That is okay to do. Again, even if you are in debt. I'm sorry, Dave Ramsey. But it's okay to treat yourself as long as you had budgeted for it. So you can slowly add in certain dollar amounts for this each paycheck, each month, and it is so worth it for doing that. So these are just a couple, but I hope you get the picture. Now you have your emergency fund, and the goal would be, again, to bring this up to at least $1,000. So you have $820 still left to budget from this paycheck. So you could take $500 of that, and you have half of your $1,000 ready to go in an emergency fund. So you now have money in case something happens. You can take it from your savings instead of putting it on a credit card. This is kind of a different way of me doing this budget with a friend, but I really hope that you got some insight just by me writing up this paycheck budget. Now let me flip to July. So we already filled in the July monthly budget, and here is, or monthly calendar, and here is the July monthly budget. Now I know I'm going to get questions of where are these worksheets at. Everything is always linked in the description box down below. Everything that I use, resources, my website. So always check the description box. I'll have everything linked there. But monthly budget. Same situation. We have the total monthly income. So you get paid twice. Well, in this case, actually, there's 3 paydays for the month of July. However, let's look at the calendar. She's gonna get a payday on the 30th, which is like the last day pretty much of the month. You can record this income as July's income, but then you have to keep in mind you have expenses for the following month that you have to cover from this paycheck. And that's why we use the bill tracker. It's so important. But right now, I'm going to do it based off of the 2 that we received in the beginning of July, because those are going to cover all of July's expenses. Same thing with the percentage formula. We have 2 categories that we're going to be focusing on: the spending and then the goal. Spending is for any bills, any variable cash envelopes, or bank accounts that we have going on. And then the goal is for paying off debt, building your savings. We're not focusing on tithe because you didn't mention that to me. So $41.56 is the income that we are breaking down for the month of July. And I wrote in all of her expenses. Total expenses comes to $18.63. Here is why I love the percentage formula so much. We're gonna take the income, $41.56, and we're gonna multiply it by the 0.8. So $33.24 is what is recommended for her to break down all of the spending from her income, right? So if we take the $18.63 and we add the $6.18 from this category section, $24.81 is what that adds up to. $33.24 is what we said is 80% of the expenses. So she could really look into maybe bringing this down to living within 70% of what her income is. So let's see what that is. Multiply it by 0.7. $29.09 is what that comes out to. She could definitely be within 70% and focus on dropping this from 80 to 70, because she could definitely live within that dollar amount. So that is so exciting. Again, think about your allowance. What is it that you spend money on? I really think that that should be one of the categories that's included for that random spending. And now with that, you are left with $1,675 from your monthly budget. Now, where is that money going is a question that I would ask myself, being that you say you want to grow a savings. You have $1,675 that is unaccounted for in your monthly spending based on the information that you sent me. So go back through your bank statements and look at what is your spending habits like. Where are you spending this money? If you are spending it on like those allowance things, then maybe cut back and put that money to better use. I would say put it to sinking funds. Think about what is a future purchase that you are definitely going to make. Gifts, birthday parties, celebrations, things like that. And you can take 1,000 of this remaining money for the month of July, and you can apply it to have your starter emergency fund of the $1,000. And that leaves you with $675 that, hey, if you don't want to start your sinking funds just yet, well, then you can apply $675 to an extra debt payment. That is amazing. That is so exciting. And I think that you would really think about your sinking funds. The second thing is think about your variable spending, your allowance. What are you spending money on? And overall, I know that you can accomplish becoming debt-free. $13,000 is going to be a piece of cake for you. You can pay that off in a few months. To be perfectly honest, with the income that you make and with the expenses, based on what you gave me, you could totally become debt-free this year if you really focus on doing that. But this is what the July bill tracker looks like for you, breaking things down into those 3 paycheck categories. We've highlighted what we know we have to have the total amount fully funded in our account and planning for the upcoming month. So this is how we use the budget system. This is how you can create a successful budget that makes sense to you and your family. If you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments. What would you suggest to our friend here? Have it be nice, no hate, because those comments will definitely be deleted. But this is just a safe place for you to ask questions, and I'm here to hopefully answer the questions that you have. But I hope that you enjoyed this and you are just encouraged to get on a written budget and do it in a way that makes sense to you and your family. Simple and easy. I will see you guys right here in a brand new video. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.